rice base. We went for a more simplified version of the blood sausage. So this one has rice and not onion. It gives it a better texture, and it takes the mineral content out of the blood. So it makes it a more delicate sausage.
I love, are these red bell pepper?
That's actually
peppers?
piquillo.
The red?
Mm-hmm.
What is
piquillo
piquillo?
peppers. Piquillo is a Spanish pepper. It's kind of like a hybrid between a pimento and a red bell pepper. It has the flavor profile of a pimento, but the size and texture of a red bell.
Has a really smoky, rich flavor. I love it. And now that you say pimento, I can taste that.
Yeah, they're darker color, they're richer in flavor, and they're not as watery as a bell pepper, so they're more along the pimento family.
Well, I love pimento and cheese sandwiches. That sounds so corny, but I grew up in the South. So I love pimento and cheese sandwiches. But what I like to do is go to the farmer's market. Things that you never think of how it looks before it's processed.
Yeah, ago they had beautiful, and they were
gorgeous,
perfect and dark, and
and I was like, I've never seen a pimento outside of a little jar.
Oh, that's
so I
very
got
funny.
some with great intentions to roast it on the stove and make some homemade pimento and cheese and stuff olives. So I got busy, and so it just rotted in the kitchen. And then, so tell me what we're eating here.
That one is an octopus carpaccio.
Okay.
And it's actually cooked octopus that is formed into like a log, a touchon shape, you know.
Okay.
And then it's frozen, and we paper fine slice it on the slicer. So you still have the texture of octopus, and the flavor of it is just a little bit more delicate. And then we top it off with a fennel orange zest and a touch of Fresno chili escabeche, which is a light marinade in a good olive oil and vinegar with tangerine juice to enhance the orange profile. On the top of that, you have fresh dill and cilantro.
That is phenomenal.
Different hit, different thought.
That is delicious. It has sort of this nod to sushi, which is my only real context for octopus. So, but it has this freshness and the lightness from, is it orange zest?
There's orange zest and a touch like the red little flecks in there are Fresno chili to add a depth to it. And then you've got the fresh salad on top, which is just fresh cleaned herbs that we've put on top. That's a kushi oyster. They're smaller, similar to a kumamoto. And they have a sweet cucumbery aftertaste, like the finish on them. And it's done with a red onion harissa.
That is beautiful.
Good.
Such delicate flavor balance you have. Amazing. Okay, I want to move on to the next dish, but I got to have another bite of this before I do. It's too good. And it's like now you kick off your weekend
with it. And we do have a couple crudos. Right now we're doing a beautiful yellowtail hamachi crudo. And I have Wagyu in, and we're doing a raw Wagyu carpaccio on the menu. And we do a scallop ceviche. So we definitely have our raw profiles, or shall we say delicately marinated profiles that are in play on the menu. These are the New Zealand green lip mussels.
So these look amazing.
We get the New Zealands. It is the coldest water and the sweetest of the mussels, so you're not going to get that earthy musky that people are not used to with mussels that kind of throws them. These are definitely a better mussel. It's finished off with a touch of blue cheese, and then we use a spicy rosemary butter with tomato, the sofrito, to give it a body and a depth.
Wow.
And then the chorizo, of course, because
these are so clean.
Yeah, they're a great mussel.
The flavor is just very, very...
Don't linger.
No, exactly. That's it. It finishes really clean, and it doesn't have... sometimes there's a textural thing that happens with mussels. Isn't appealing to me.
They get almost rubbery.
Yeah.
These actually, as soon as they pop open, the tomato goes in, the finishing butter goes in, like that's it. I mean, they're a beautiful, really responding mussel. They're great.
And these are the New Zealand greens?
Yes.
So what is the sauce? Tell me about the sauce.
The sauce is actually, we do shallots and garlic with chorizo. We brown it all in a pan. And then we add a touch of fresh lemon juice and white wine, of course, because it is great with the mussels. The mussels go in. A little bit of vegetable stock to just kind of give it a little more moisture for steaming the mussels. As soon as the mussels pop open, we add a spicy rosemary butter and a touch of tomato sauce to give the sauce viscosity, like a thickness.
Right.
And then it's all brought up together. put into the serving dish, and we finish it off with fresh lemon slivers, a smoky blue cheese to add a little bit of depth.
What kind
on
of
that.
blue cheese?
It's called Moody Blue, and it's a smoked blue cheese. This is a vegetable paella because we had done meats and everything else, and hopefully the sakura is still there. So we fight to keep, it's come up a little bit, but see the crisp, you're looking for that around the edges, and it's just there. We go from raw on our paellas. So it's not a par-cooked rice. We actually get in bomba rice. It's the top of the line. It's what everybody in Spain says you should use in any paella. So we start out with browning the rice in the pan with a little bit of olive oil. Then we add all of our garlic and our shallots and our seasoning and our saffron so that it cooks it into the rice. And then we use our stocks, and if we're going to turn it into either a vegetable or a meat or a seafood, it depends on what stocks go in and finish it out. So on average, our paellas take anywhere from 24 to 28 minutes because they're done from scratch.
Wow.
There's no pre-cooking on these.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can tell the rice is al dente. It's very, not in a bad way. It's perfect. To the bite profile,
And
it's not soggy.
It
doesn't mush. And it's really hearty. Now, I'm not familiar with this.
That's Romanesco.
Romanesco. Okay.
And it tastes like a cross between a cauliflower and a broccoli. And it actually is, they look like little, not for a worse term, but Godzillas. Like they have these really incredible heads on them. And I gave them to a friend of mine who's a photographer.
They should call it Godzilla fruit.
She was like, oh my God. And she ended up doing a whole series. But it's a natural formation, and it has the flavor profile between broccoli and cauliflower. So it's not as intense as a broccoli, but it's a little like lighter, like a cauliflower.
Okay.
And then we have fresh fava beans currently, heirloom carrots, and Brussels sprouts, just because the seasons are starting to transition. So whatever we can get from the market goes into actually our vegetable paellas.
Now, do you buy a lot of things here from the farmer's market?
I go through and I check all of the market, and then I work with 2 different produce companies, and I tell them what I want from what farmer, so that I don't have a lot of space here because we rotate through product, and it's better to have smaller walk-ins and spaces. So they know which farmers I get things from, and I now can get it from those farms 5 days a week instead of having to buy a week's worth of produce at the market. They can ship me what I need daily.
Wow.
So
you're getting daily fresh food from the local markets.
From the local farmers. Well, because LA Specialty, Worldwide, and West Central, which handle all of Los Angeles County pretty much, have started to work with the farmers, and they have trucks go to all of these farms because they're local. So they've worked out farm programs for chefs so that we don't have to purchase such large quantities of product or run out of product. We can actually have
so they
it all the
distribute
time.
it for them, so they can fulfill in large orders where the farms couldn't afford to come maybe to 1 or 2 restaurants. If they've got bulk restaurants.
Or they used to only be able to afford to come to the market and distribute. Now all of these companies go and pick up from them.
Right.
So
they get bulk orders. And
yeah,
that's great.
All of our orders before 6 p.m. for farm, and they go in and they pick them up between like 4 and 5 in the morning, and then they ship them all back to us. Wow. So there's a huge farm program. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is great. This is from field to fork, isn't it? Literally, it's
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just an expression.
No, and it's been a work in progress. I mean, the companies have definitely been, I would say, a solid 10 years now of creating and working programs with the local farmers.
Wow. Okay, the dessert is screaming to me.
Screaming at you?
It is. It's just sitting there in its beautifulness.
I used to be a pastry chef for a majority of my career, and then I jumped off the cliff because I figured out I loved both. So now I do both. And usually when I have a sweet craving, something new pops up on the menu. And I had never seen a honey cheesecake. And Spain is the land of honey.
Cheesecake.
So I didn't want a crust because I wasn't in the mood for it to be heavy. And I created a honey cheesecake, and we're going into creamy.
That is amazing.
Depth of honey.
That almost tastes like just eating the most delicious butter with honey.
Nice.
That I've ever had. I mean, it's absolutely delicious.
And then we're in season for quince, so we actually cook our quince in a very light, simple syrup until they start to color.
This is fabulous.
I'm glad you like that one.
And I don't like sweet. This is fabulous. I love the pomegranate. And what did you say it was?
That's a candied red wine quince.
Okay, candied red wine quince.
And then they now have started to produce white pomegranates and red pomegranate. So the red is the tart little ping, and the whites are a very delicate, sweet little hit, but with the same texture.
It adds the perfect acidity to the richness. It's beautiful.
How'd you like it?
I love it.
Little fresh here and there always helps out.
All of your dishes have this gentleness about them.
Thank you.
They really
Appreciate
do.
that.
They're very thoughtful and delicate, and gentle is the best word I can think of. You know, like some dishes are really overpowering with flavor, and this almost calms your palate into a different experience.
That's good.
Yeah, it like calms you into really examining the flavors you're experiencing and
Nice.
wondering about the food and the presentation, and it's very experiential. I really love it. I love what you're doing here.
Because when I sit and make dishes, I think, okay, it has to layer. I need this. I'm a huge fan of flavors and textures because a texture can change what your mouth is thinking, believe it or not, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's the
So-
Asian kind of culture too,
Yeah.
with a lot of texture in food.
So if you have flavors, textures, all of that, it's kind of like a little party going on. So you aren't just appealing to a smell, you're appealing to more than one sense. So I hope that it involves the entire body. Like it makes it more enjoyable and more of an experience that you remember, not like